Mm-hmm.
We said, if you said, you said something like about, sorry,
Mm-hmm.
you said something about,
About what?
okay, you, you went back, you were explaining the meaning of some concepts.
Mm-hmm. Which concepts?
You,
Financial management concepts, to be
Yeah.
specific. Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, those concepts were like dates,
Dates like what? Dates and what?
capital,
Mm-hmm.
what do we call this? Where the company owns the money. Okay, the company is being run by the money which is owned by the company, not that is being taken from other
Mm-hmm.
institutions or banks or what.
That's capital structuring as a date. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Date capital.
yes.
Mm-hmm. What about equity capital? What did I? What did I say about equity capital?
An equity capital is a capital that is being run, and owned by the company. Like its own money. It's
Exactly.
not being borrowed from
From somewhere else.
It's related by the owners of the company.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. So, in as far as financial management is concerned, what did I say are the goals of financial management?
What did you want?
Goals of financial management. That's where we stopped.
Goals.
Goals of financial management. You recall anything?
Yeah, I do. But then I'm confused.
Why are you confused? What brings the confusion?
There are some things I learned
Mm-hmm.
from another lecture,
Mm-hmm.
which is not of this course, but they seem familiar. So
Mm-hmm. What is it that you had?
that, but I feel it's not for this course.
Yeah, just share so that probably we figure out where we
Okay.
can try to fit in.
That financial management was this is for that course. The simply people gather.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like people gather,
Mm-hmm.
they social,
Mhm.
they socialize, so that they can achieve some goals.
Mhm.
Goals like development of the country, even of the community, school, whatever. And then there's some
Mm.
students. These goals, financial management goals.
Mm. And we talked, there were 3 of them.
Yes. I remember.
You remember them?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Too much. Uh-huh.
It's not too much.
Uh-huh. But
I'm confused.
what's the confusion? We talked profit maximization. You remember?
Mm-hmm.
What did I say about profit maximization? Oh, it's about to rain or what?
Yeah, it's about to rain.
Oh my God. It's been too much, no? Rains each and every day, day in, day out. Profit maximization, shareholders' wealth maximization.
You say companies do businesses. Companies are there in business. They say that they should maximize profits in a way that they reduce costs and go for more benefits, so that they should have more profit.
More profit.
Yes.
So that is, you should always be looking at investments that at the end they should be able to reward you.
Like they said, for example, there are 2 projects. And then when the company looks at the projects, the both projects are giving profit, but then the company should go where there are more profits.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Although where there are more profits are also more costs, but then we go for where
There is a higher
there are higher
profit.
profits. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much on that. And I do believe we reached as where did we stop exactly? Did we reach on the
No, we remained with one goal.
one goal,
Yes.
which was we did wealth maximization?
We did work maximization.
Uh-huh.
We remained with one.
Which one? I know it. Okay, let's follow as it was presented here. All right.
But then you did not say that.
Sorry?
You did not say that. You told us.
The notes. I'll send it today before we leave this class. I'll share it. Let me just connect with my hotspot so that as we are in the course of learning, I should be able to send you right away. So that at least I don't become an excuse, right?
And then did you give us an assignment?
No. I told you, no written assignment. It'll be through presentations. So when that time,
Come up with,
I'll tell you, I'll give you topics to present.
you should come up with slides.
Yes. And you'll be presenting by beaming. We'll have the projector from the ICT so that it can help us to do that. Okay. So where exactly how you stopped in terms of what you were writing?
We stopped on. We did not finish it. We did not finish the well. Yes. But then
I just remember that we did profit maximization, like in terms of even with maximization.
we did, yes. And then you said after.
I think we
after one exam, yeah.
steps for achieving the objectives of wealth maximization. I think that's where we stopped. Steps for achieving the objective of wealth maximization. So there, you're right. The objectives of financial management are such. The objectives of financial management are such. The objectives of financial management are such that they should be beneficial to owners. Are such that they should be beneficial to owners. Are such that they should be beneficial to owners.
How?
Wait. Don't worry, there's a meeting out see Wundimao, not Lero. One lecturer told me to say there is a meeting, so I've just seen the communication from the dean to say it's not today but tomorrow. So I was saying aside that they should be beneficial to owners, management, employees and customers. Management, employees and customers. Management, employees and customers. I'll tell you there. We start with, if we're saying whenever we are looking at the objectives of financial management, it should be of benefits, or it should be of beneficial to the owners. Remember, say, everyone would wake up, say, I would like to start business so that they generate what? Money, profitability. Or even they have to grow in terms of wealth and whatsoever. So you may find that we strive to get the best for the business so that at least that goal to the owners is what? Is achieved. And at the very same time, for look at sustainability, if we are to talk of management, if management is able to do the best decision, then definitely you see that there will be a good continuity of the business. And if the decisions that are taken do the benefit for the company or whatever, we'll see that the management is doing better. And management would be deemed to be a failure if the objectives are not what? Are not achieved. To the owner, to the employees, definitely, everyone needs to be at an employment place where at least they're able to meet their needs. So these needs could be there if the company is doing better. And for the company to do better, it needs good decision making, right? So if we are definitely maximizing or profitability of the company, definitely who are going to benefit at the end? Employees too are going to benefit from that. Because that would bring what we call job security. Unlike working in a company where the company isn't making much profits. You're there, right? And again, they're saying these objectives can be accomplished only by, you continue, these objectives can only be accomplished by maximizing the value of the firm through the following ways. Maximizing the value of the firm through the following ways. You're there, right? Number one, increase in profits. So that is for with maximization to be there, at least we need to increase what? Profitability of the business. And in increasing profitability of the business, there are a number of things that as a company, it has to do, right? A good example would be, let's take in terms of project selection. You may not be able to achieve this objective if projects are just selected without being scrutinized. So you need to analyze the projects and choose those projects so that at one time or the other, they should be able to bring what? Profit to the business. So in terms of profitability, we should be able to see whatever we're trying to come up with as a business, be a product or a service. The question would be, is that service or product in demand out there? Because if we might have good products, but if there is no need for those products out there, we want to be able to make profits. So for us to achieve wealth maximization, we should be able to at least go for projects or products that would give profit to the business. The second way is reduction in cost. Yes, I was saying, okay. You're there, right? A reduction in cost. That is, if we are to reduce cost, then definitely we'll be able to what? We'll be able to make a good profit. So there are so many ways through which cost might be reduced, right? So as a management, definitely in every company, there is a cost department. And if you look at that cost department, they just sit down and analyze whatever the business is doing so that others, they figure out what would be the best possible ways through which cost can be kept minimized. So with that, definitely, you be, just as you said, where I'm leader, say, your focus is to generate more money and minimize or reduce what? The cost that would be there. Then the other one, we go for sources of funds as our third way. Sources of funds. Now when you talk of sources of funds, the question that at management level, you need to ask or you need to focus on would be the cost attached to that source of funds. A good example, talk of interest rates. If, let's say you're using debt and you find that the market gives too much interest rates, then definitely you may not be able to benefit much from those kind of financial sources, because much of the money, instead of coming to the company, it will be used to pay off what? The ngongole that you had. So you should be able to at least have a source of funds that is what? That is manageable, that is low cost, vis-a-vis, and what other reason that could be there. Even if when you go for borrowing money, you always ask yourself in terms of to say, what are the terms and conditions? So you may find that sometimes the interest might be high, but by just looking at probably the terms of payment, maybe they are favoring the company, then definitely you may go for that, so long as you don't feel like you are being overburdened by having a loan. If it is good, this going to be filled? Limuzizaza?
Maybe 4 exams.
Oh. Sure, intake ndaona ngati a weekend kumabwera anthu ambiri. There is good response from students, anambira they are coming. Then we go to the other one, minimize risk. Minimize risk. What did we say about risk last time? What did we say about risk last time? But Monday, you also, you were not interested to come to class, huh? You said Change was nursing her child. Then that woman and you, then you said, no, I'm having fees issues.
Yeah, I still have.
Oh, so you have negotiated?
The registrar asked me on Tuesday, then why didn't I tell him that I have this issue?
Oh.
Because and then I was like, I thought it was too much. So he was like, no, go to class, I'm going to talk to him. If I don't know, we talk.
Mm-hmm. You are rated with the registrar?
Not even
Not even a single. Ah. I saw here there is, you call Bahachi? Bahai. Ah, they pay, are you not under their sponsorship? How do one guess that?
They pay for Baha'i students. If I am Baha'i, I'm Baha'i.
What is Bahai?
It's a religion. They
Oh.
don't believe in God. I'm sorry.
Are you serious?
Yeah, they say Muslims, they believe in Muslims, they believe in Christians. They say it's okay, they have to be Muslim, it's okay to be Christian. It's okay to believe what you believe, but then there's no God.
Oh, I didn't know. I didn't know. I just hear of that. So they say you have to believe in. You just have what do you have to believe in?
They say the word just, it's like they're related with science. Scientists, because they say the word just started.
Okay, so we are saying minimizing risk. On minimizing risk, what we look at is, last time we talked of risk, right? Do you recall what I said?
Risks,
Mm.
yeah.
What did I say, or what did we discuss over it?
You say the unplanned problems.
Mm-hmm.
There are known problems.
There
No.
known problems.
You were sure that these things are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
They say I'm selling tomatoes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that if I don't sell them in a good time, they're going to perish.
Yes.
I'm still taking the risk of selling the tomatoes here.
Mm-hmm.
I know that I'm a student, I don't go to the market,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll still sell tomatoes here. That's a risk. So there are problems which are there, and then you're sure they are going to happen. And entrepreneurs to take them.
So let's take you are having a business. How do you ensure that is you are trying to minimize the risk that would be there to disturb your business?
Okay, so like, as for me, I sell hot dogs.
Mm-hmm.
And then I know that if I prepare the hot dogs in the morning before customers come, if my customers are there, I'm not there, that means I'm not going to sell and then they're going to perish.
Mm-hmm.
So what I did, I prepare the hot dog when the customer comes.
Mm-hmm.
I just fry the sausages, I just make sure that my buns are equal, everything is there.
Mm-hmm.
When the customer comes, I just go and reheat it, the sausage, and then
You fixed it.
then give it to the customer. so that I should minimize the risk of throwing away the sausages, because the buns. Because if I put the bun on the sausage and then the customers then they might fail and then we throw, people won't like it. So I say no. If the customer is coming, I tell the customer to wait for 5 minutes. I should give it and then do the pay.
So with blackouts here in our country, since we have too much blackouts, it may also pose as a threat or as a risk.
It does, but then I have a mama.
You have what?
A mama.
Mbaula.
So I asked the customer first, would you wait for him to go and then you what is about and then I'm a I'll wait.
Wow. So definitely, always, so what it means there is, for you to minimize risk, you should be able to understand the nature of your business and what exactly your business is exposed to. Because if you don't really understand the risks that are there, you may not be able to overcome the impact that the risk that might have on your business. So for you to achieve wealth maximization, definitely risk would always disturb on profitability of the business. So wealth creation or wealth maximization might not be there. Then we have to the other one, long run value. Long run value. Long run value. So when talk of long run value, we are say living something that would last long to the people. That is to say, if people have had an access to your product or service, the feeling should be with them for some time. And you will find that if they have that kind of feeling, you will find that the customers that have access to your products, they'll be able to tell or to sell your business. Because the news itself, they'll keep on sharing with those people who probably are in need of the same product or service. So you should be able to aim to say, if I'm to give a service, the service should give us a long-lasting value to the customers. The last way is a good track record. Good track record. Good track record of individual payments. Track. TRA. Track record of dividend payments. Yes, good track record of dividend payments. So when talk of good track dividend record, you should be able to know the dividend policy and be able to know how you're supposed to be paying what? The owners of the company. That way, remember at what time I did say, when you look at the organizational structure, we do have the board of the directors. And if you look at the composition of such board, it says that at least we have people who have the technical know-how of how the company has to be running. So sometimes the owner of the company shouldn't or should not overshadow what is being thought of or what is being proposed by what? The board of directors. So most of the times you should be able to be guided, say, this time around with what we are having in the coffers, we may not be able to pay the owners of the company. It should be accepted. Or we say we will not be able to do this because we would like to do a business so long as it is adding value to what? To the company. Tirimon's right. We proceed and go to something different. You write profit maximization versus wealth maximization. Profit maximization versus wealth maximization. Yeah, there, right? So there you draw a table and you write profit maximization, the other side you write wealth maximization. Profit maximization, wealth maximization. So under profit maximization, you write it does take into account time value of money. It does take into account time value of money. It does take into account time value of money. And the other, you write, it does not take, worth maximization, you write, it does not, or it does, it should be like this. It takes into account, yes, it takes into account, time value of money. What do we write on the first one? On the
profit maximization, we write it does take into account time value of money.
Yes. Here they say it does take into account time value of money. Okay, let me explain this way.
So it's the same.
It's the same. What did I say about time value for money? Do you recall? What did I say?
The power, the purchasing power.
The purchasing power. So always, when you talk of the profit maximization and the wealth maximization, they are similar in that they are both looking to say the value that the money, the future value of the money that we have due to the current investment should be the same. That is, if we are to say we are putting into an investment, let's take probably, for any sake, 100,000, and we expect over the years, over a year probably, we'll have 150. We should weigh to say, is that 150 that we are going to have after a year equivalent to this 100,000? And we find that by doing so, we'll be able to get ourselves an assurance that at least really we are making value or not. Because if, let's take 1 year later, 150 does not have the same power, then definitely we are not making any profitability, and at the very same time, we are not creating what? Any wealth to the company. Then the second, the same profit maximization, right? It does not take into consideration.
Profit maximization.
Yes, it does not take into consideration. It does take into consideration. It does not take into consideration the uncertainty of future earnings. The uncertainty of future earnings. While with maximization, it takes into account.
It does not take into consideration the uncertainty.
Yes, the uncertainty of future earnings. Uncertainty of future earnings.
Worth maximization.
While with maximization, it takes into account the risk factor. Would you have something to say there?
Into account the what?
It takes into account the risk factor.
Risk.
Yes, risk factor. Takes into account risk factor.
Like the profit maximization doesn't take consideration the uncertainty of future earnings, like the bad things which are going to happen with the business. Profit maximization. Just go for the profit.
Just for the profit.
Yes.
No matter what risks are there.
Yes.
Exactly.
But then the word maximization takes into account the risk that is going to happen.
Exactly.
Because
And
because it knows that more risk means
no value. Yeah, exactly. Then we go to the third one. And under the third one, we have this. It does not consider the effect. It does not consider the effect. Does not consider the effect of dividend policy. Dividend policy. It does not consider the effect of dividend policy on market price of shares. On market price of shares. Dividend policy on market of shares. On market price of shares. While the other side, it takes into account the effects of dividend policy. It takes into account. Yes, the effect of dividend policy. The effect of dividend policy. The effect of dividend policy. You're there, right?
Yes.
On market price of shares. On market price of shares.
What does that mean?
All right, what is the dividend policy? When you look at the dividend policy, it's that policy that do govern how dividends have to be managed. That is, when should be dividend be paid to the owners of the company. Remember, we say owners of the company, they don't really get salaries, or they don't get paid from what? From their investment. But the only thing that they get through what? Dividends. So dividends is what is taken from the profits to pay what? The owners. So there is always the guiding principle as when dividends should be paid. So these two would also affect in terms of how the money, or how you create what? Value for the business. A good example, we are saying if our dividend policy stipulates that despite, no matter what could be there, always dividends have to be paid, then definitely, even if we have less profit, the owners of the company will always be pushing for their what? Dividends. Dividends we are paying while the company does not really have enough money. In terms of creating value or wealth maximization of the company might not be there. You get what it means? Okay, when you say dividend policy, it's a policy that governs how dividends have to be paid to the owners of the company. Dividend ndi ndalama zimene enake company amapasidwa. They don't get paid through normal salaries or whatsoever. But company ikakhala yapanga phindu, the profits yapanga phindu, that's when, depending on the availability of the money, you take some and pay the owners. We are there? So let's take, in your policy, you stipulate to say owners of the company will be paid their dividend if the conditions are like this. Then let's take the dividend policy says, let's take if the company does not make an increment of the profits probably by 20%, no dividends shall be paid. Then definitely you may find you'll be able to protect money. But if there is no any guiding principle or policy as to when and when not to pay these dividends, you may find that chaka chikangota, those enagas of right? They will always be demanding money. So even if the money is not there, the little that is there, music will come with right? While not considering to say the little could be reinvested so that what? You increase in what? In the wealth of the company. So dividend will always be there, will disturb the wealth maximization of the company. Because if you are paying another company, they are taking money from what? From the business. Remember, Tikamagabaza company, these are two different what? People. We call business entity concept. Yeah. You have heard that before, right? So definitely, if you are paying any company, they are taking money out of what? Out of the business. You have understood now? So wealth maximization it affects that. Because if you are taking money out of the business to pay these without really consideration as whether it is worth paying dividends or not, you may find that at the end you may not be able to maximize the wealth in the company. To remote, we proceed. That's now we go to what? The fourth one, right? it does not differentiate. It does not differentiate. It does not differentiate between the short-term and long-term profits. It does not differentiate between the long-term. It does not differentiate between the long-term and short-term profits. You're there, right? On the wealth maximization, it considers the different strategies. It considers the different strategies for long-term, and short-term profits. So what it means there?
It considers the difference.
Yes, it considers the difference. The different strategies for long-term and short-term profits. For long-term and short-term profit. You're there, right? So what it means there is, when we look at profit maximization, definitely, the focus is just to say we would like to make profits, but at what gravity or at what period you don't really give a focus to such kind of stuff. Whereas under wealth maximization, always you look, most of the times when you talk of wealth maximization, it's a long-term strategy. So you should be able to differentiate, say, if you would like to achieve this value, what actually are the steps or strategies that we need to put in place so that at least the goal is really what? Really achieved. That's what it means. Telemons, right? All right. Now, you heard the other topic. If you look at earning per share, there has not been given as full in terms of what? Explanation on its one, as it came as part of what? The profit maximization. So you write the fundamental principle of finance. The fundamental principle of finance. In there, the fundamental principle of finance. And there you write this. A business proposal, regardless of whether it is a new investment, regardless of whether it is a new investment or acquisition, regardless of whether it is a new investment or acquisition of another company, or restructuring initiative. Restructuring initiative. Initiative, INTIATIVE, initiative. Restructuring initiative lays the value of the firm. Yes, lays the value of the firm only if lays the value of the firm only if lays the value of the firm only if you're there the present value of the future stream, only if the present value of the future stream, only if the present value of the future stream, the present value of the future stream of net cash, you there? Benefits expected.
Of cash?
Yes, of net cash, not just cash, of net cash, benefits expected from the proposal. expected from the proposal is greater than the initial cash outlay. Is greater than the initial cash outlay. 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 That is the cash released. Cash outlay required to implement the proposal. You write cash outlay required to implement the proposal. You there? Okay, so what it means there is, what they're talking about, we are focusing on the time value of money. What they are looking at is, whenever you're trying to come up with any investment decision, whether you'd like to restructure, whether you'd like to have new venture or whatsoever, when say initial cash outlay is like capital, the capital that we are putting into the business. So we are saying the capital or the money that we are releasing into the business it should be at least should be less as compared to the cash that we are going to have at the end. In short, or in other words, we are looking at the net present value. And when we talk of the net present value, we are looking at the amount that we are going to generate in the future, or we talk of the future cash flows, should be more than what? The initial capital outlay. Let's take, as I said last time, let's take we're trying to invest 100,000. The question is, how much are we going to have from that 100,000? So if you put 100,000 into an investment and you are getting, let's take after a year, let's take you're getting 200,000. The question would be, is the 200,000 that you look forward to have in this capital that you have just released into the business, are they of the same value? So normally, when we are talking of the net present value, we find ourselves in a situation where we have three scenarios. One, we look at a scenario where the net present value is greater than 1. So if the net present value is greater than 1, that means the future cash flows are more than the initial cash outlay. And if the situation is like that, there is what? Profitability. And in any way, such kind of an investment need to be what? Need to be taken, because they are adding value to the business. They are creating wealth maximization, they are bringing wealth maximization to the business. But where we find that the net present value is less than 1, what it means is the future cash flows are less than what? The present. And as a result, there is no value because there are losses there. So definitely, if an investment or a project, a business proposal has got a net present value of less than 1, we reject because there is no what? Profitability. So what if the business does not give you profit, neither does it make you a loss? What should you do? Do you have to take that project?
It's not giving you
profit, and at the very same time, it does not give you a loss. It's 50-50. It's like invest, the very same amount comes back.
But then you're still making a profit.
You're still making a profit?
Yeah, in economics, you're still making a profit.
Mm-hmm. How? Share me with the knowledge of economics.
They say if the money you put, then it's still coming back, you still make a profit. But they say 0 plus profit. But then you're still making a profit. What you need to do is you are supposed to maximize the profit. Yes. You should reduce the cost. And you should also reduce the risk so that you should have more profit than the one you're having.
So, yes. So here and
but if there's another project, you should go for the other project.
The other project.
Yes.
If it gives you more, right?
Yeah.
So exactly. So most of the times, when the net present value is 0, you become undecidable. You may either keep hold to the business or you may let it go. But in one way or another, most of businesses would carry on just because by not having profit nor a loss, that gives hope that if you try to do something to the business, you have something. So that's why they stick on. So you may find saying, oh, what we focus upon, or what we look forward is the cash itself, money. Are we making money or not? So the availability of the money itself would push you as to whether you should carry on with the project or not. Tirimons, Zuvege? All right. So you write decision, another topic. Decision, comma, retain. You write decision, comma, retain.
Is the topic?
Decision, comma, retain, comma, risk and market value. Risk and market value. And scope. And scope. And scope of financial management. And scope of financial management. So what you have there, you draw something like this. Then they write capital budgeting decision. Capital budgeting decision. Then we have,
I should write that?
yes, capital structure decision. Then you also have dividend decisions. Dividend decisions. Then you have working capital
Which
decision.
one is there?
Yes, working capital decisions. You're there, right? Okay. So, what we are looking there is that, as I've already said, say, when talk of the scope itself, we look, say, under finance management, much of our focus is to make decisions. And the question would be, how do we look at the decision that we have made, or how do we reach such a decision? So we do have a number of things that we look into. Our first, we look at capital budgeting decisions. When we talk of capital budgeting decisions, we look at appraisal techniques. That is to say, we try to take ourselves into a situation where we do have projects that are mutually exclusive in nature. What does that mean?
Projects
That are mutually exclusive in nature.
like they compete with each other.
Yes. It's like they cannot be done at the same time, right? So you need to choose one. So under the capital budgeting decisions, we have several techniques that we use. We have the net present value, payback period, accounting rate of return, profitability index, and the others. Have you heard of any of these?
You know, this,
Yes.
can you start again?
Net present value,
Yes, I
when?
last semester.
Last semester.
I was doing project management.
Uh-huh. Payback period,
Yeah.
how do you understand this?
Net present value is okay, let's say for example we have a project which is taking 5 years
Mhm.
and the project is after 5 years profit is going to be 10 million.
Mhm.
So the project, the net present value.
Yes, you're almost there. Payback period. Mhm.
Like the payback period is only over 10 years or 5 years.
Mhm.
Ndarama imene le 10 million izakhali kuti yatipatsakale in this period maliza.
So let's start with the payback period. How do you choose one project among others?
Okay, if let's say I have 2 projects,
Mhm.
so in the payback period, either you got in 3 years, and then the other is given me up to 4 years.
Mhm.
I'll go for the one which is given me 3 years because
Mhm.
of purchasing power money.
Exactly. So what you look at is you get the project that gives back your capital area, so that at least you can use the very same money and do other stuff.
Yes.
Whereas the net present value, I also just talked about it.
Yes.
The manner where the net present value is greater than 1, take the project. 0, undecidable. Less than 1, leave the project. So that's what we do. So under capital budgeting, we just try to focus on how best do we select a project among other projects. Then capital structure decisions. Yes,
Oh,
capital structure decisions. I talked about that the time you were with the change.
yeah. Huh?
Yes.
Construction decision.
What do you need to focus on? And that was the first thing you talked about, Tango ya Mbomene. What did you say? You talked about that, Tango ya Mbomene.
What did I say?
Mm.
Did I say something?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Capital structure.
Like the capital are we going to borrow for something or are we having
Mhm.
on our own?
Exactly. So Takulanganisa. Muoneka utopa. Muoneka utopa. Ndio sakapuma bwana. Ichi checho chazuka rumu. Unaiona? Kuchipatala bwana. No, muondo ofunikira kwambiri. Kudanishira chichonse. Chimfini. Kodi room 6 eh? Chifine cha ndani? Mwapasirana kuti chifine no.
Wajikana? Yajika mfola.
Klasi Makaramande ndiye what happened was akuti she had fees issues ndani chanju mwana madwala ndine agiza tikumana dzulo ndi chanja nenoda tikumane lero buza kanali kuchipatala ndero wangotumiza text kuti I think fees I think
Ndi omugera mukala w'amama yake sirina basi ndege sibira sinyaza
Matroses ndaumu marenda nani koma ngati zikuvulesi koma mankhwala ndofunika osamazilekerera osamazilekerera
ndapita kale dzulo abantu umapompa ngati samba lero ababa ndiye matini
okay
ameshia ndachita kaleso
better All right, we proceed. So, under capital structure, what we are looking at is what would be the best combination of what? Debt capital and equity capital. Did we talk about this today?
Debt capital and
Yes. So, most of the times, our focus is to say that we should have an optimal capital structure. And when you say an optimal capital structure, our focus is on same. Otherwise, we need to strike a balance between the debt capital and equity capital. If you look at these two capitals or sources of capital to the business, they do have advantages and disadvantages. So we try as much as possible that others we strike a balance that others will put the business on the better side. You may find that if the company is depending too much on debts, definitely, in the long run, it may not be able to pay back all the ngongoles. And if that is the case in the company, there will be what we call financial distress. So we need to make sure that others, whatsoever combination that we will have or will make, it should bring the best impact to the company. That's what we focus on. Remotes. Ndio ndio class ndio atoko.
yeah.
Wow.
Today's Thursday.
Thursday antamara amakabuli beku.
Masana kule makasi. And makala sports.
You do sports? Why? Ndio lese. What is it that you're active?
Okay.
Talking? What's a class? You have attitude? Yadzana ichi. Ukangomu nzako akangokugwesa.
So I stopped. Okay, I stopped this week.
Mm.
I'll start
No.
again.
Do that so that it's to pass time.
Now that's what I'm doing.
Wonda ndijani? Koma gopodi ndo wani. All right. On dividend decisions, I think I talked much on that the time I was lecturing on dividend policy. Working capital decision. What's working capital?
I think
Labor,
the labor, the manpower.
the manpower.
Yeah.
So when
If you are already having, let's say you are doing a farm, so if you're already having, maybe labor times like workers
to
what the price as well.
Okay. So when talk of working capital, we are focusing on management of day-to-day operations of the business with the use of money. So you may agree with me and say we are trying to balance between current liabilities and current assets. So you believe say what's the need or what's the special need of money that is available on the company. So you should be able to make sure that monies are available so that we are able to settle all the current liabilities. So you will say what kind of goods, or in other words, we are looking at stock or inventory that you are having for sale. So you should be able to have products or goods that can quickly be sold so that you make the money available to support the day-to-day operations of the business. That's under working capital management. So if you look at all those decisions, our focus is to see what's the profit. We are looking at the profitability. Remember, with the profitability, we'll be able to move forward as whether the company or the business is making making value or not. So you should be able to see what's the profit if we were to do this decision. And you analyze those in terms of the risks that are available. And understanding all these decisions in terms of risk and profitability or returns, you'll be able to know what exactly is the value of the firm in the market. So looking at that, we are wrapping up the whole aim as why the whole scope of the financial management. Look at decision making, how you make money available as you are working towards with what? As you are looking towards with maximization. So we start with investment, decisions or scope of financial management. 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 There we have this, you list the following: investing decision, number 2, financing decision.
Financing?
Yes, financing decision or financing decision. Financing decision. 3, dividend decision. And 4, liquidity decision. What's liquidity? Any idea what's liquidity all about? At primary school, primary, if not secondary school, timaphunzira liquidity, solidity, solvency. Have you done such kind of stuff? What do you recall?
Liquid.
Yes.
Any substance that can flow.
Any?
Substance that can flow and takes the shape of a container.
Yes. So when under accounting or finance management, when we talk of liquidity, it's like whatever the business is involved in, how do you change that into money?
Okay.
That's liquidity. And you may find that this is a reflection of what? Is a reflection of the working capital management. Because when you say working capital management, remember I said, you look at how do you manage what? Current debts. We're there, right? So we start with long-term decisions. But are you right? Investing decisions.
Should
So-
I invest
Investing decisions. Sit now, tangobanga list. Yes, tangobanga list. Now we'll start discussing one by one. Investing decisions. So right, involves decision in short-term and long-term projects. Involves decision in long-term, involves decision in long-term and short-term projects. You're there, right? So when talk of long-term and short-term decisions, our focus has to be to say, would like, what is it that we're trying to create in our business, and how best do we create that? So in whatever decisions you should be making, some decisions are long-term, others are short-term. What is it that we need to achieve within the shortest period of time, and what is it that we would like to achieve in the long? About the PC younger see will charge.
You have two pieces.
This is for school. I'll read Jamboa. Yes. You're there, right? So you should be able to demarcate those kind of stuff. So you write short-term projects, decisions relating to working capital management, yes, related to working capital management, comma, inventory management, you're there? Inventory management. Then talk of receivables, yes, receivable management, etc. Receivables management, etc. You're there, right? So what we are focusing on there is that, as I said, say under short-term decisions, you look at coming up with a decision that would sort things that that needs immediate attention. Now, when you talk of working capital management, we are looking to say, let's take a company yabanduda supply katundu ndi anthu ndi ma suppliers. You can't stay over a year without paying them. So you should be able to look forward, say, what is it that the business has to do so that at least we have money, and that money can be used to set off the dates that are at hand. That's under working capital management. Because under working capital management, you should be able to know how best you are going to service current liabilities. So you need to have money. And for you to have money, definitely, liquidity can come in if you are able to change the assets, the current assets that you are having into money, so that you pay off the debts that are available. Inventory management. What's inventory? Have you learned of FIFO?
No.
First in, first out. Last in, first out.
And what supply chain management?
So we talk of FIFO, they are looked at when you talk of inventory management. When you talk of inventory management, we are looking at managing stock. How best we manage stock. So in managing stock, you should be able to know, say, with the stock that we are having, which stock should we sell first, which one should we not? So that in the very same way, you'll be able to track and know exactly how much stock we are having. A good example, if you talk of FIFO, which is first in, first out, ndio katundu amene munayambira kuorder akhale katundu oyambira sokuda kugulisa. LIFO, katundu amene anabwera last in, first out, katundu amene anabwera koyambirira amene azimbira kugulisidwa. So you do use such kind of stuff so that at least you are able to track your what? Your inventory. Because it is the inventory that you're having that would bring in liquidity in your company. The last one we said, receivables management. And under receivables management, your focus has to be receivables. You talk of dramas meant to example from Angongole. Ngatita Gulisanto Pangongole. You should be able to track them and follow them. So that at least you are able to drama. Because if those people they are left unattended to, the company will suffer. Because it has money somewhere, but just because you're not following up, those monies cannot come to your side. So you need to follow and know how much money you're having so that at least you maintain your business liquidity. Remotes. Let's look at long-term decisions. You had long-term decisions. And under long-term decisions, yes, is another point. Under long-term decisions, you write relates to capital.
What should I write?
Long-term decision. Remember, yes, investing decisions, I said it involves what? Short-term and long-term decision. Need number my short-term decisions. Now we are on long-term decisions. You following?
Okay.
Are you following?
Yeah.
Okay. So under long-term decision, you write it relates to capital budgeting decisions. Capital budgeting decisions.
Is what?
It relates to capital budgeting decisions. It follows both traditional and modern techniques. It follows both traditional and modern techniques.
Both.
Traditional and modern techniques. And the techniques include, you're there, right? Payback period. Yes, and the techniques include payback period, that, right? Accounting rate of return, net present
Accounting rate.
of return, accounting rate of return. You're there, right? Yes, rate of return, net present value, net present value, etc. You're there, right? So those are the methods that we do follow whenever we are to come up with understanding the capital budgeting. And in terms of capital budgeting, I did say we focus much on the project selection. How best do we select what? Projects. So we end here. Yeah, you may have this.